Yes, Shoaib, loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Guys, good morning again. My name is Shoaib, and I'm the Azure Presence Consultant for Redington Gulf. And I hope you all are safe in the current situation. So, just to not stop the education that Redington deliver on Azure, we have started a webinar series considering the situation. And this is the second session where I will be covering Azure fundamentals as a training. So after completing this session, you will be able to appear for education. You'll be able to appear for registration of the examination of AZ 900, which is Azure Fundamentals. Microsoft has made this a mandate certification for anyone who sells Azure. So everyone inside Microsoft, everyone inside Redington, it's mandate for them to get it certified. So let's get started. So yes, you know more about me. So I have more than 10 plus of experience with Microsoft and Citrix. I was working with Microsoft India. I was working in Citrix India, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer as well, and currently working as a pre-sales consultant. In this course, we will cover four module. So this course is basically someone who's starting the journey in Azure or in cloud. So here we will cover cloud concepts. Then after cloud concepts, we'll get into the Azure services. We will study a bit about security, privacy, and compliance, and then we will go how the pricing works. So, as a sales or as a pre-sales, it's very important for all of you to understand which all services are available in Azure. When you go to your customer and when you talk about Azure, you will be talking about solution, not a specific product. So you need to understand that which solution, which services will be fitted for this customer in this situation. When it comes to examination, the cloud concept will cover 15 to 20%. The Azure services will cover the most, which is the 30 to 35%, and then security for 20 to 5 to 30%, and then we have the pricing and support. You can give this exam in a Pearson View exam center, or you can also give it online. Microsoft recently started online certification as well. So you can be at your home, you can be at your office, and you can give an exam. So there will be someone who will be monitoring you in your video session, and you can get certified, and you'll receive the certification via email. That's it, guys. So let's get started. Let me quickly jump into the module one. Okay, so let's get started with the cloud concept. In this session, we will understand the module will describe the benefits of cloud, the key terms you'll encounter when you go to cloud, what is public, private, and hybrid model, and then is what is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. I know most of you would be aware about this, but we might have a few attendees who are very new into cloud. So I'll just give you an overview, and we will go further over it. Okay, so cloud computing, let's start with this. Cloud is not new for us. I mean, we have been using cloud since ages, since decades. Not in terms of email. Of course, your Outlook, your Hotmail, your Gmail was on cloud, but as an infrastructure as a service as well. Uh, in early 80s, in early 90s, there were small companies who used to give cloud services, like for example, Etisalat or BIOS or Do. So the organizations who are not able to maintain their IT infrastructure, they will go to this service provider and they'll get cloud as an infrastructure as a service for hosting their application or their data center. But now we have big players. We have players like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google into it. What services we get? We get compute, we get storage, we get network, we get analytics, and lot more than that. So the key concepts of cloud, this is not new for us. We get it's highly available. We have fault tolerance. We have scalability, elasticity. We have global reach, latency issue, agility, cost consideration, disaster recovery, and secure. This all services or this all concepts make cloud more robust and very much adaptive. I mean, imagine if I'm a customer, maybe an e-commerce customer, where my workload goes high when I'm putting any sale, like the Big Billion sale in Flipkart or Black Friday sale in Amazon. So I have to scale up very high. In that case, cloud plays a very important role. If I want to scale up my storage or my virtual machine, imagine my virtual machine is a 2 core 4 GB RAM. I want to go to 4 core 16 GB RAM. It's a matter of seconds. So that's how scalable it is. You get a global reach. I have a customer in India, I have a customer in US. I can spin up a virtual machine in India, I can spin up a virtual machine in US, and I can get it going. We can achieve DR, and of course, it's highly secure as well because Microsoft and other cloud vendors have done a lot of certification to make sure your data is cloud compliant and highly secure, which we will cover in detail in the other side, in the other slides in the module. Economics, it's the same. You scale when it is actually needed. The capex versus opex model. That's what we have here. So nowadays the trend is a lot of customers they don't believe in capex model, especially after this COVID situation. Albeit it will be very difficult for the customers to invest on their hardware, whereas in cloud you only send for the services or the product that is needed, and it's a pay as you model. You want it today, you use it. If you don't want to use it, you just decommission it and you don't use it. It's a consumption based model. So we know that uh, we have been into subscription model since a childhood. Our education has been to subscription, our electricity has been to subscription, our mobile bills are into subscription, and now we have IT into subscription, where we don't pay any upfront cost. We only pay for the services that we use. What are the types of cloud that are available? We have a public cloud, like your Outlook and your Gmail, your Hotmail, where you publish your email, and on the same server there may be many users hosting their email. So it's a cloud which is being shared by public but highly secure. I mean, you have your Gmail credential, but with the same credential, you won't be able to access anyone else's email. Same goes with infrastructure as a service as well. If you're taking public cloud, you might have a virtual machine in a rack, but there would be multiple virtual machines in the same rack. But there is a security is in such a way that you cannot access anyone else's virtual machine. That's a public cloud offering that is available. Then we have a private cloud. A private cloud is just like having your own data center which you integrated with Azure. So if you want me to give you an example, we have an Azure stack. Azure stack is like Azure in your data center, but you will be using most of the services that are available on cloud, but your data will not live on premises. So government customers, financial sector, they really don't want it to put the data in public cloud. So Microsoft came up with the concept of Azure stack. So in private cloud, it is owned and operated by the organization that uses the cloud. And in Azure Stack Services, you will be using all the services which is available in Azure, but the data will reside on premises. And then we have on hybrid, where we have a combination of private and public. 90% of the organization currently are going to hybrid model, whereas in I will only put the data on cloud, which is maybe less critical in this fact, or user should access it globally, or there can be many consideration around it. You can have a DR on cloud, primary on premises. So you have a combination of both. So we will have a site-to-site VPN connection between your on-premises to Azure, and then in case of DR, whenever the user there's a DR, the user will fail over on cloud. So when you are giving a solution to your customer, you really need to understand which solution fits in. Imagine it's a new customer where they just want to put up an application, or maybe a dev and test customer. You don't need to give them a hybrid environment. But imagine we need a DR. or a customer need a additional domain control on Azure, then you go for a hybrid option. So you really need to understand as a partner or a customer which solution you need in your environment. So this is just the more detailization about the public, private, and hybrid environment. And this is the shared responsibility. And we like cloud for this. Like imagine your on-premise environment, you own everything. Like the left-hand corner in green, the data access, the application, runtime, OS, VM, compute, network, storage. You own everything, you manage it, and you pay for it. That's your on-premises infrastructure. Then cloud offer the least is infrastructure as a service. Whereas in you only manage from virtual machine to data, the compute network and storage is being managed by the vendor. And then we have platform as a service, whereas in you only manage application and data, rest of the things managed by the vendor. And then we have software as a service. So if you want me to give you an example, consider your Office 365 as software as a service, where we only manage data and access, rest of the things to be managed by the vendor. Then we have SQL. Imagine a customer like soup.com or any e-commerce company, they only want an application and they want a database. They don't need anything else. So what you can give them platform as a service, whereas they will get the application and they'll get the database. The backend OS, the runtime, the VM, everything is being managed by the vendor. So they don't get an headache. The security of the virtual machines, the backup of the virtual machine, the DR of the virtual machine, everything is being managed by the vendor. Then we have infrastructure as a service, whereas when you put up your virtual machine and put your application or data inside that. Okay, so this is an IaaS, most cloud-based cloud computing services category. So you have server and storage, your networking, and your data center physical plant is an example of infrastructure as a service. Then platform as a service, which sits on infrastructure as a service, which is like your applications, like providing environment for building, test, and development software applications. And it will help you to click very easily. You can go ahead and create any application or any website, and you can get it live. And then we have software as a service on top of the application, like your Office 365. Okay, guys, so that's it for the first module. We just saw the types of cloud that are available, the services, and the public, private, and hybrid cloud. In module two, we will get right into Azure, where we study about the services and we do few demos as well. This module is going to take a decent amount of time because here is where we go deep into the services of Azure. What we're going to understand, the Azure architectural component, services and product, solutions that are available, and the management tool as well. Azure regions, it's actually the data center that is available globally. So currently we are at 58 data centers that are available and announced. So Azure data centers are available globally. They provide flexible in scale, make data resiliently, and you can choose the region that is closest to you. There is no boundary. Even if there is a tenant is in UAE, you can spin up the virtual machine whole across the world, and the billing will get into UAE. How the data center is been created? Each Azure region is paired with another region. So region, which means if you see an example, North Central US is paired with South Central US for high availability. East US is paired with West US. India, if you see, India South is paired with India Central. Only Brazil is a region which don't have two data center, so it's paired with South Central US. UAE North is paired with UAE Central. So they have some criteria like it should there should be at least 300 miles of separations if available, and in case of outage, we have another data center that is available. What are geographies? They are distinct market that preserve data resiliency and compliance boundary. typically contain two or more region. It allows customer-specific data resiliency and compliance need to keep the data application close proximity, and they are categorized as Americas, Europe, Asia Pacific, and Middle East and Africa. So we all are aware that in last June we had announced two data centers, launched two data centers in UAE, one in Dubai, one in Abu Dhabi, and in March two data centers were live in South Africa as well. Okay, so availability options. If you're taking a single virtual machine with premium storage, Microsoft gives you an SLA of 99.9%. Guys, by the way, this type of questions comes in exam. Like Microsoft will give you a question that if you have virtual machine premium storage, what is an amount of SLA? So you just need to make sure that you remember the numbers. So with the virtual machine with premium storage, we get 99.9% SLA. If there is a virtual machine in available set, you get 99.95% SLA, but this doesn't mean what type of storage, because in storage we get standard HDD and premium HDD or premium SSD. So availability set, even if you take standard HDD, you get 99.9 SLA. Availability zone, you get 99.99%. There is 29 in it. I'll clear in a bit what is availability zone, and then we have a multi-region data center where two regions are connected to each other. Okay, what is an availability set? We checked there an availability set. So what is an availability set? Availability set, it's like two or more virtual machine providing the same sort of workload. Imagine you have an application, you want high availability for that, so you'll put it in an availability set and you will add two or more virtual machine which deliver the application, and you will add a load balancer in front of the application. So if the user is coming on the load balancer, it will put it on the virtual machine which is available, least loaded server. So there is a concept of fault domain and update domain in an availability set. So a fault domain, so you can have a maximum of 3 fault domain and 20 update domain. So in terms of fault domain, you can have three virtual. I mean, you can have multiple set of fault domain in an availability region. So imagine we can have 3 fault domain and up to 20 update domain. So if we have taken 3 virtual machines in our fault domain, so we have racks in Azure. So we can have one virtual machine on one rack and we will put another virtual machine in another rack. So even if the complete rack is going down, the another rack will be available, which will be taking as a fault domain. And then when it comes to update domain, so fault happens. Imagine when your rack goes completely down, in that time we have fault. And fault update, if we want to update something, like we want to update our hardware, we want to update our software, then in that case, Microsoft will make sure that they don't update all the machines in the rack at the same time. So this gives you high availability. And then we have availability zones. This is a bit different than availability set. Availability zone is physical separation of locations within Azure region. So they will be available in the same Azure region, but with a different power, cooling, and network. So even if the complete data center goes down due to a network failure or a storage failure or a power failure, the availability zone will have a power supply and will give you the availability. That's why it gives 99.99% of availability. Resource group. Resource group is a concept of having one or more resources in the same resource group. So just like your OU in on-premises environment, like you put each object in an OU. We have resource group where each service is in Azure called as resource, and then you put these services in the resource group. So resource group is basically containers which is have the aggregator of resource, and each Azure resource must exist in one or more resource group, and we can give RBAC role to the resource group. And we have a concept of resource manager in Azure. So in Azure, we have a tenant at the top level. So if you're using an Office 365, you already have an Azure tenant, you already have an Azure AD. So resource manager is basically a manager which is on the top level, who will do the management for all your subscription, all your resource group, and all your resources. So as we discussed that each services in Azure is called as resources, and each resources should be a part of resource group. And if you see at the top, we have subscription. In one tenant, we can have more than one subscription. Imagine you have a tenant where you have a subscription for Azure for your dev and test, Azure for your production, Azure for your finance. So we can have multiple subscription in a tenant, and you will have a management at a top level, at a tenant level, and you will manage different subscription at the top, which will give you more security. You'll have a control access over all the subscription and all the resources. So how Microsoft design it? Microsoft recommend to you to have a owner of a tenant, and then inside the tenant you can create multiple subscription, and in that subscription you can give permission as per you require for your organization. Okay, then let's come to the services and the products that are available. One, we have the Azure Compute. Azure Compute is basically an on-demand computing services running cloud-based application. So your virtual machine, your functions, your apps, your Kubernetes, everything comes into compute. If you go to the Azure portal, you will see services as per the product that they support. Like compute will have all the list of compute services, network will have list of network services. So your virtual machines and everything comes into compute. So we have VMs, we have scale set, we have app service, and then we have functions that comes into compute. We will do a demo at the end of the session that how we can go ahead and create a virtual machine in Azure. Then we have containers. So container are a virtualization environment. So you can consider containers virtualization inside virtualization. What do I mean by that? We have a hypervisor, and then we used to build an OS, and we used to virtualize the OS. But now with containers, you can virtualize your services as well. So you can put different services in different containers. So imagine in on-premises environment, in case of hypervisor, if one service goes down, it affects all other services, and your complete VM used to go down. But when it comes to container, if one service goes down, that will not affect the other service because that will be virtualized inside a container. So in Azure, we have Azure Container Instance, which is platform as a service offering, and then for we have Azure Kubernetes as well, which is used for container orchestration services. So Kubernetes is basically a container itself which hold more than one containers and which will perform the function. Then we have network, where we have the VNet, we have load balancers, we have gateway, we have application gateway, and then we have CDN. So VNet is basically a network that we have on premises. On premises, we have physical network, and in Azure, we have VNet. Then we have the load balancer. Load balancer is basically used to balance the load. As we said, if you have a web app behind a load balancer, the user will first come to the load balancer, and the load balancer will divide the load. VPN gateway is a gateway between your on-premises to Azure. So if you want to securely connect via the SSL tenant, On-premises to Azure, we use VPN gateway. Then we have the Azure Application Gateway. Application Gateway is a smart load balancer which is used for web app. Application Gateway also do your security part. It will take care like of your DDoS detection, your SQL injection, your SSL decryption will be done at the application gateway. And then we have a CDN, a content delivery network. A content delivery network, it provides a distributed network of servers. What do I mean by that? So imagine you have a few users in India, a few users in USA, and you have some videos or some image file on your web app, and everything is hosted in a UE data center. You don't want your US user to come to UAE. So what we will do in this case is we will host the data in CDN. So the most accessed data, which is a cache data, which will be stored in CDN in the USA. So and Azure has the CDN across the globe. Even if the data center is not available, they have a CDN across the globe, and the user can access the data via CDN. We will also create a VNet in a demo. And then we have data categories, how data is been categorized in Azure. So we have structured data, we have semi-structured data, and we have unstructured data. So imagine the data like your SQL data, which has schema, that comes into your structured data. Then we have NoSQL, like your books, your blog, your HTML document, that comes into semi-structure. And then we have unstructured data, like your hard drive, your PDF, your GPGs, everything will be stored in unstructured data. Then we have storage in terms of IaaS and PaaS. So disk and file, that comes into infrastructure as a service, like your persistent disk, your premium storage, your IOPS, everything comes into the IaaS. Then you file in Azure, we have something called as Azure File Share, which we'll cover in the later slide. That comes into IaaS, which means you own it, you manage it completely. Then in platform as a service, we have containers, we have table, and we have queue. Containers is just the blob storage that we create, and then in table we have NoSQL data that has been stored, and then we have data that is stored in the form of queue. In a storage slide, we will do a demo for all of this storage and how to create it, how to access it. We'll create a blob storage, and the data that is available, we have Azure Cosmo DB, we have Azure SQL database as platform as a service, and we have Azure database migration tool, which is a fully managed services which helps you to migrate your data. So Azure database migration tool is a free tool available from Microsoft. It's a tool that you download, and you can do an assessment for the data that you want to migrate. Imagine you want to migrate an on-premises SQL database to Azure. You just need to go to Azure. You just need to go to the tool. You add your database name, you add your credential, and you can start the assessment and you can start the migration. And then we have Marketplace. Azure Marketplace is same as your Android Marketplace, Play Store, or iStore. So in Azure Marketplace, we have a lot of products, which is Microsoft owned products and products available by the ISV. So imagine you want to build up a virtual machine with Citrix, with Fortinet, Hadoop database. You can just go to the marketplace, you will click on that, and you will be able to deploy it, and you will pay to Microsoft, or you can get your own license. So we have more than 10,000 products that are available in Azure Marketplace. So let's quickly do a demo, guys, around it, and then we will go to the solutions part. In this demo, we will create a virtual machine, and at the side, I'll show you how the VNet gets created, how the storage gets created, and we will walk through everything. In your exam, you won't get a demo, but it's very good to have a decent idea how to create a virtual machine, how things has been placed. So this is your Azure. For the one who are seeing Azure for the first time, welcome to Azure. So this is your dashboard. Here is where you will see the user logged in and demo. This is an area where you will see directory, where different, if you have a different tenants, you'll see it here. And this is an area which is called as your hub, where you will search for all the services. So you can go to create a resource if you want to create a resource from marketplace. If you want Microsoft services, you'll go to all services, and this is an area where you pin your favorites. So if I want to create a virtual machine, it is available here, but I'll search from all services. We have virtual machine. I clicked on the VM. I have many VMs. I'll click a new one for this demo. I'll click on add. It will, as I told you, as I'm an owner, I'll be able to see all the subscriptions that are available in this tenant. So I'll click this subscription. Resource group, as we discussed. Every resource, every service in Azure called as resource, and every resource will be a part of resource group. So here I will create demo RG, demo resource group. Virtual machine name, I'll take demo VM. It is available. Which region you want to choose? I will choose India, maybe South India. Which image you want? I'll search the images that are available. So I can take the images that are available here, or I can browse for any public or private image. So imagine, as I told you, if I want Citrix, I'll click on Citrix here, and I can choose any of the virtual machine and I can create it. I won't be doing it now. For now, I will just take the Windows Server 2019. I think the VMs are not available in India. Let me check West India. Same case. If I choose Central, no guys, so my subscription is not allowing me to create virtual machines in India. So let me try to choose some other region, maybe US. Oh. mm, Okay, in if you see in West US, it's giving an option. So this is an area where you choose what size of virtual machine you want. We will cover this in later side. What this so in Azure, you cannot specify that I want a one core and 100 GB RAM VM. We cannot do that. We have few templates predefined, and we need to choose one of those. So I have chosen a virtual machine D2V3 with 2 core 8 GB RAM. If I go back to the change size, it will give me what is the VM size, offering family, how many core, RAM, disk, what IOPS, what is the storage we get, can we attach a premium disk, and its monthly cost. I'll give a username, maybe demo user. I'll give a password, and then I'll go to disk. This is an area where you'll attach a storage, like your OS disk. You see, it's a premium SSD. But if you want, I can take standard HDD or standard SSD. The prices and the performance will vary depending upon the disk that you're taking. If you want to attach additional disk to your OS, I can just click on create a new disk, and I can attach a disk. See here, 1024 premium GB. I won't do it here. I'll go to network. As I am creating this VM in a new resource group, by default it will create a new VNet and new subnet for me. If you see new, it will take the virtual machine name, resource group name, demo rg-vnet, and then it will create a subnet and it will assign a public IP. And then I'll go to management. In management, it will add me diagnostic, Azure AD. If you want to auto shut down, I can put it on that the virtual machine will shut down at a specific time, and you have to manually start it. And you can enable backup as well if required. I can just review and create, and my virtual machine will be created. It is just running a final validation, and this is done, and I'll just click on create. Till the time this is getting created, I will create a storage account as a demo just to check. If you want to create any storage account, I'll click on storage account. I have many storage account here, but I'll just click add. Once I click on add, same process. It will ask me for subscription, resource group. Oh, it took me back to the virtual machine part. Okay, I'll go to storage account again. Okay, resource group, storage account name, which location you want to create, and what type of storage you create. So I won't be going there. I'll go to an existing storage that I have. So I'll go to virtual desktop storage that I have, and once I go here, it will ask me, do you want to create a container, file, table, and queue? These are the types of storage that we just learned. We can create containers where your unstructured data will be stored. We can create file share, which is just a file share. You can attach it in a drive. You can create a file share and users on premises. You can attach it at the network drive, and the user can access is just a normal file storage. Then we have table, and then we have queue. You can give access to the file storage, you can encrypt it, and you can do, and this file storage should be unique. The name of the file storage should be unique. Like if I go and add here, and if I give storage account name as test, it will give me an error because this file or this storage is accessible globally, just like your domain. So that's why you need to give a unique name. So let's quickly create here. So we'll take the same demo account, demo resource group, storage account, demo strtxe. This is available. Great. North Europe, premium. Then, so these are the types of storage. We will cover it in a later slide. What is LRS, what is GRS, and other thing. And then I'll click review and create, and your storage will be created. I won't be creating it now. And quickly check how to create a network. I'll click on virtual network. I will click on add, and the same process. Okay, so I'll click on I will click on subscription. Again, the same process that I'm doing. I will add it in a resource group, MORG, and the instance detail that I'm creating. IP addressing, what type of IP, which range you want to give, security, do you want to protect against DDoS protection, do you want to enable a firewall, and tags, and create. So this is how we will create a virtual network. So this is pretty straightforward, guys. You need to go to Azure, you need to search for any of the services, and you will go ahead and do it. So in Azure, each services is independent to each other, and you can attach it later. Like I create a storage account here, and while creating a virtual machine, I can attach this storage to the virtual machine. We create a VNet, we create a public IP, and I can attach that public IP to that virtual machine. I mean, of course, they should both should be the same region. So once this virtual machine is created, I'll go ahead and log in and show it to you. But as it's taking time, let's quickly go to the other solutions that are available. So in Azure, we have many solutions like the IoT, Internet of Things, which is a fully managed global IoT SaaS solutions, which is easily available to connect, monitor, and manage your IoT device. And then we have the IoT Hub, the hub where all the IoT services will be kept. And then for big data and analytics, we have Azure SQL Data Warehousing, we have HD Insight, and we have Azure Data Lake that is available for big data. And for AI, Azure has its Azure Machine Learning Services and Machine Learning Studio. For serverless computing, we have functions, Azure Functions, we have Logix app, and then we have Event Grid. So basically, serverless computing is, imagine you want to run some codes, or you want to run some stuff on Azure. You can use it as a serverless computing. Hello, 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 hello. Junit, can you hear me? Guys, I think I lost you for a minute, but I think I'm back now.
Yeah, so
So Azure App Service is again software as a service that is available. I mean, platform as a service that is available. Imagine you want to build up any website on Azure. You just need to go to the app service, and you can build up your full-fledged websites without within seconds without the backend infrastructure. So we will quickly create the app service as well. So if you go to Azure, I will just click on app service. My virtual machine is created. We'll log in it in a while here. But for app service, I'll go up to Azure. I'll click on app service. I'll click add. Again, the resource group I will give as a demo RG. Your website name, demo app DXP. This is available. You want to put it in code or Docker container? I'll say code. You want it on .NET Core or ASP.NET. I said ASP.NET V7, region Central US, and then which SKU you want. I said standard S1. I'll click review and create. Okay, all the validations are successful. I'll just create an app service. So you see, it's so simple. If you want to create a blank website, and I can attach a SQL database as well to it, or any other database, and I can give it to my developer within minutes for him to go ahead and build that app. So my virtual machine, I will go to my VM, one which we just created. I'll just go to resource. I'll click on connect. I didn't. So I'll take the public IP. I'll copy this and go to an RDP session. In here, I will put my username and password, and I can just go ahead and create, and you'll see the 2016 machine. And for your app service, my application has been created. Let me know once you're able to see it.
yes.
Perfect. So guys, this is an app that we created. I'll just click on browse. See, my app is ready. And now my developer just can just go ahead and do the development and create an application. So this is how simple it is, creating the application within seconds, and I can attach it to a SQL database if required. If you see here, I can do a backup, MySQL in the app, and everything can be done within the same console itself. So this is how simple your Azure App Services, and of course with the other deployments as well. So let me quickly jump into the slide that we have. And then the tools that are available, you can use Azure from the portal. You can use it from the command line interface. You can use it from Cloud Shell, from mobile app, and from the REST API that is available to use and manage your Azure. We have a tool called as Azure Advisor. It's an amazing tool. Azure Advisor will basically give you, it's a free tool which will give you recommendation on availability, security, performance, and cost. If you want me to just give you a glimpse of the advisor, I'll just go to all services. I'll click on advisor. See this, it's basically an AI based service. It will search all the services that I'm using on Azure, and it will give you any recommendation in cost. I mean, as per this cost center, it's saying that you can save around $204 dollars per year. Security, it's saying you have 16 security alerts. High availability, it's giving 4 recommendation, and operations and performance, it's saying you are all good. So this is the tips and tricks what Azure Advisor gives you. It's a free tool that is available. We won't be doing it, but I might share a few of the PowerShell commands with the help of which you can create a virtual machine, of course. Uh, so that's it, guys, from the second module. What we understood in this module, what we saw how to create a virtual machine, what are the storage, how to create a storage, how to create a VNet. We also saw what are the serverless services that are available in Azure. We checked the management tool, and we went into detail of the app service and how to create it. Let's quickly jump into our third module, which is security, privacy, compliance, and trust. I think most of the questions comes around this module, that how secure my data is if I go on cloud, how Microsoft take care of my privacy, how I can trust Microsoft as a vendor. So I think after this session, after this slide, you'll be able to answer the questions, and a lot of questions in the exam will be coming from this module. I think 30 to 35% of the questions will be covered from the security and compliance module. What we'll understand, understand that how secure network connectivity is between Azure, what is an identity services, what are the tools, what are the governance methodology, and for monitoring, what services Azure have, and for data protection, what are the standards that are available in Azure. So for secure, Azure takes defense in depth. So Azure protects your data right from the physical security to the identity and access, perimeter, network, compute, application, and data. But one thing which we need to be sure, that whatever data we own as a customer, we need to secure it. We need to manage it. If an example, we saw the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS slide. So in infrastructure as a service, we own the virtual machine, so we need to manage the virtual machine, like the backup and the security and everything. But in platform as a service, we only need to manage the application. The virtual machine and the patches and the update is being managed by the vendor. So Azure only take cares of the security of the services that he manages, and as a customer we need to secure the services that we manage, like your virtual machines, your application. We need to own it, we need to manage it, we need to take care of it. Here is what I just said. On premises, it's complete customer's responsibility. In IaaS, Microsoft manages the physical host, network, and data center. Rest of things managed by the vendor. In PaaS, identity and directory application network is a shared responsibility with Microsoft and the customer. Rest of the things is been managed by the Microsoft. And in software as a service, the client endpoint, the access management account, and the data governance is been managed by the customer. And identity and directory management is customer and Microsoft, and rest of the things will be managed by Microsoft. Azure Firewall is another service that is available in Azure. It's basically a very high-tech firewall which gives you, security for inbound and outbound traffic. It is highly available. We can scale it, and it can also help you in monitoring. At the down, we have Azure Application Gateway, what we just covered. It is your web application firewall. It will provide inbound protection for all the web applications from SQL injection, from DDoS attack, and other things. And then we have Azure DDoS protection service that are available for your virtual machines. We have NSGs. NSGs are basically your software firewall. So you can apply an NSG to a virtual machine, or to a resource group, or to a specific resource network as well. NSG basically, NSG set of rules which will allow or deny the traffic based on the protocol that you have kept open. So NSG works on 5 rules: source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol. So what is the source IP? What is the source port? What is the destination IP? What is the destination port? And which protocol? And as an admin, we need to define this. If all of these rules fit, then only the traffic will be allowed, or else it will be denied. And then we have application security group, where you can put your application, and you can secure in terms of the protocol and the rules that are allowing the requests that are coming in. It is important as an admin to choose the Azure network services, a perimeter layer or a network layer, the type of protection that has been given from Microsoft. And for identity, so we have 2 types of services here, not services, but 2 concepts for identity and access. One is authorization, and one is authentication. So authentication is basically the service that authenticates you, like Azure AD. And we have authorization, a service that gives you authorize to access the application or the service. Like in your on-premises environment, Kerberos was the authentication service, but LDAP what was accessing service to access the bases that we Azure AD, a platform as a service that are available for identity. If you're using Office 365, you are already using Azure AD. Azure AD can do authentication, SSO, application management. You can do business to business, business to consumer, and you can also manage your device with Azure AD. Business to business is basically like you have 2 different domain, 2 different forest, like Redington and Microsoft. And Redington wants some of the Microsoft user to access our services, access few of the files. We can give them B2B access, where they will only be able to access the files, and we will have a complete control over the users. And then we have business to consumer, like you log into any of the website with your public email, like your Yahoo and Facebook and Gmail. That is business to consumer. Like an e-commerce, like on Amazon, you can log in with your Yahoo account, with your Gmail account, or with your Outlook account, and you can access. That's consumer for us. We can access, we can get MFA, multi-factor authentication, as an highly security for a 2-factor security. And then we have Azure Security Center. Azure Security Center is just similar to Advisor, but this portal will give you all the security reviews. We have a free and the paid service available in Azure Security Center. So what the Security Center does, it detect, it access, it diagnose, it stabilize, and then it will close the issue for us. Few services are auto remediated, and for few security issues, it will ask user intervention to go ahead and make the changes to make highly secure. Like for example, if any of the port is open which should not be open, Azure Security Center will give you a recommendation that security wise this port is open, whereas then you just need to go ahead and close it to avoid any attack. We have Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is basically a vault where you can save all your keys, like your secret keys, your certificates. It's basically an HSM and hardware security module which has been used for the key vault. So imagine you have any certificate which has been needed by any of the application. So the certificate, we will save it in a key vault, and whenever the application requires an authentication, it will pull the certificate back from the key vault and put it inside when not required. We can go ahead and create a key vault in a while. Sorry guys. And then we have Azure Information Protection. So Azure AIP, it's a very highly demand service nowadays, which comes pre-built in M365. So it gives classified and protection for your documents and your emails by applying labels. So it applies the labels to the files and to your emails, and it will give you which. So it uses security, like you can add your security, like in India we add PAN and Aadhaar details to make sure that if the user have all the information, only they'll be able to access the file, access the email, or else it will be declined. And for governance, we have policies. Azure policies are predefined policies that are built in Azure, and this policy are used in categories of storage, network, compute, and monitoring, where we define a policy, and the users and the resources inside that resource group need to comply to that policy in order to access the resource. How to implement a policy? We will create a definition. Probably, if time permits, we'll go ahead and create a policy. We will assign the definition to any of the resource, and we will review and evaluate the resource. So we'll create a policy, we will assign it to the resource, and then we will create and check if we will evaluate that how secure the policy is. We have RBAC, role-based access control. Role-based access control is basically a fine-grit access management. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. Imagine we have a SQL resource group. So SQL resource group, a SQL admin, we need to have a full access. Imagine we have a SQL administrator, we have a resource group, and the SQL administrator need to add some virtual machine to the resource group, or need to add a resource and a user to a resource group. So we will give the SQL admin a complete access to the resource group, but he will only have access to that resource group. Anything outside of the resource group, he will not be able to access that. And we can give an access to such a level that he can only, so we have owner, contributor, reader, and then we have multiple layer of RBAC role. You need to give the permission based on the requirement. Like if you see at the top in the diagram, we have Azure AD, and then at the left hand side we have users, application, and resource group, and the right hand side we have subscription. And you can give RBAC on subscription, you can give RBAC on a resource group, and you can also give an RBAC to a resource as well. If you want me to quickly show you how the RBAC has been given, like imagine if I go to all services, okay, I will go to my virtual machine, and I want a specific user to have access to my VM01, only VM01. I will go to IAM, Identity and Access Management. I will click on add. What type of permission you need to give? Do I want to make him owner, contributor, reader, a web operator, dev and test lab user? What do you want to buy? I'll say owner. Then it will ask me to search. So the user can be within your organization or outside. I'm giving a personal email address like shoaib kutsi at gmail.com. Email is out of my domain, but it's saying as guest. I can click on guest, I'll click on save. Once I click on that, I will receive an invitation on my Gmail. Once I access the invitation, I log into Azure. I will only be able to see my VM01, and I will be able to access the VM based on the permissions that I have. So we just go ahead and created an RBAC. Resource lock. Resource lock is basically a do not delete lock that we had on premises. So the locks are read, update, and delete. Cannot delete. If you said yes, the user or the owner will not be able to delete the resource. Read only, so he can only be so cannot delete will have read, update, delete no as a lock, and read only will have read yes, update no, delete no. He cannot update, he cannot delete as well. Subscription governance. One second, let me quickly go to the monitoring part. So we have tags. Tags is just like tagging we do in on-premises, we do at our house, we do in shopping malls. It will apply a tag to the resource to get us a better visibility. Like tags provide metadata of your Azure resources, Its logically organized resource to your taxonomy consists of name value pair. So imagine I'm creating a virtual machine for my finance. So I'll create a virtual machine name test and I'll tag it to finance resource group. So for billing wise, whenever I pull up the bill for finance, the virtual machine bill will be added because that is been used by the finance team. If you see the example here, I can create a tag, the owner Joe, department marketing, environment production, cost center marketing. So the virtual machine cost for Joe will go to the marketing team. So this is how tags help to specify more details. We have Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor is another service that collects a log and that gives us the metric and performance for all the services. Service Health is basically a portal, or it's a service that is available which will give you the status of the global services available. So in some cases, few of the Azure data centers would be down, few of the services would be down. Will give you the status. It will give us the service health as it's a dashboard that is available, and it will also give you resource health as per your resources. So monitoring the application in Azure, we can analyze in Azure Monitor. What you do, we analyze, we respond, we visualize, and it integrates. This is how the architecture has been built. To analyze, it use variant of Azure Monitor of resources. It use Azure alerts, can respond like it can give alert. We can do auto scaling as well. So imagine if my virtual machine is up, like it's 100%. So I can respond, like I can put an auto scaling condition that if my CPU is like 90%, or if my CPU is 100%, auto scale the virtual machine. I can do that. I can visualize it in a Power BI, and I can integrate with other solutions as needed. Privacy compliance, guys. As we know, Microsoft invest $1 billion every year for security. $1 billion only for data security. Microsoft has done certification across the globe to meet the cloud standards. Like Microsoft has done HIPAA, GDPR, ISO. Microsoft has done a certification from UAE government as well. So your data is cloud compliant. And especially after that certification from the government, we have been seeing a huge spike in your Azure usage and Azure data center usage. So Microsoft has its own privacy statement. So in the privacy statement, what data Microsoft processes, how Microsoft processes it, and what purpose the data is used for. Microsoft gives a privacy statement which you can give it to your customers. We have Azure Trust Center. Azure Trust Center is a portal altogether. You just need to go to Azure, search for Azure Trust Center, and you will get a URL link. You can browse. It will give you in-depth expert information, how the data has been kept, how the data has been clustered, and role-specific information for business manager, administrator, engineers, risk accessors, privacy officer. So if your customer said that if my data should be HIPAA compliant, you can just give him a certification from Microsoft as an Azure Trust Center that if you're putting your data in Microsoft, which means your data is HIPAA compliant or GDPR compliant or whatever compliance your customer needs. We have a service trust portal. It's a portal, it's a website which will give you compliance related publication about Microsoft. That the audit reports, the guides for the regulatory compliance, and the publication of how Microsoft trust and how it puts the data. And then we have Azure Government Services. This is only for the government customers. Azure Government, it's separate instance of Azure, and it is physically isolated from non-US government deployments. So if in US, if there is any non-US government, the deployments will not be done in that region or in that location, and it followed the below compliance. Azure China is different altogether. In Azure China, Microsoft has tied up with 21 ViaNet, and then they have built up a data center. It is a physically separate instance of Azure Cloud Services, which is located only in China and only for Chinese customers. You cannot put your virtual machines from here in any of the data centers in China as per the local law. And it has been prepared by 21 ViaNet. So guys, that's it from the module 3. In the module, we completed the security, the trust, the tool that is being used, and the compliance part. Now let's quickly jump in to our last module, which is very much into pricing and other stuff. Okay, so let's quickly go to module 4, which is Azure pricing. What are the pricing and how the support is being done? We'll understand the Azure subscription, the management group, how to check the cost, what are the supports option available, what is an SLA, and what is the life cycle. So Azure subscription, as we said, we have Azure account, which is a tenant, and we can have subscription like in this case, in this example, we have 3 subscription: dev, test, and production. Why customers create different subscription? It depends. Like I want in Redington, we have value, volume, and telco. It's although it's a Redington company, so I will have one tenant, but volume, value, and telco will be 3 different subscription within the tenant. So each resources will be isolated, and the cost and the pricing for all the subscription will be different. Subscription offer, we have sorry guys. So we have pay as you go, and then we have enterprise agreement. We have for student, and then we have CSP as well as a subscription that you can buy. In CSP, you go to our CloudCox portal and you create a subscription, and then we go ahead and log in. Azure free account, if you are a first time user to Azure, you get 12 months free, which is up to $200 credit, which is once you activate a subscription, the $200 credit will be need to consume within 30 days. And few services are always free, like the basic VM, the basic load balancers, and other things will be always free. You just need to enter your credit card detail, $1 will be deducted, and you will get this as a free. Management group, we already discussed. We will have a management group at the top, and then we will have subscription, we have resource group, we have resource. So management group can include multiple Azure subscription. Subscription inherit condition applies to the management group. We can create 10,000 management group in a single directory, and the management group tree can support up to 6 level of depth. So like management group, subscription, resource group, resources, then the containers, and below that. So how do you purchase Azure products? As we discussed, we have an enterprise agreement. Then we have a web direct where you purchase it via the credit card, and then we have the CSP where we come into play as a distributor and as a partner. This is going to change very soon after the Azure Commerce Platform, but till now we have these all available. Factors affecting cost. A lot of customer complaints in Azure that my bill is very high. And I'm not sure how that happened. So what are the factors that are affecting the cost? Resource type. Costs are resource specific. Every resource that you create in Azure, we have a cost implication over it. So you need to make sure that you're allocating the right resource, and you need to track the usage. If you want me to give you an example, imagine at how in your home, you just keep your electricity on even if it's not required. So in that case, you will get extra bill. Same goes in Azure. So what are the resource type you're using? Which services you're using? Azure usage rates and billing period can differ between enterprise, web direct, and CSP. I mean, there is different types of rates for enterprise customer, web direct, and CSP, but there is very slight difference around it. And the location. Imagine you're provisioning a virtual machine in UAE and the same virtual machine available in Europe. There will be a price difference over it. Price maybe UAE would maybe $10 more expensive than US. Like for D series virtual machine, D2, V3, UAE may be $100 a month, whereas in US would be $90 or $80. The cost depends on various factors. So whenever you're giving a solution to your customer, you make sure that you're choosing a region which is security compliance and which is also cost effective for the customer. And latency plays a very important role, because if the virtual machine is cheap in US, don't provision a VM in US, because there will be a lot of latency when a UAE customer is accessing it. Zone for purpose, like in Azure, we all know incoming is free, outgoing is chargeable. What do I mean by that? That any data going inside Azure is free, any data coming out of Azure is chargeable. So zone, the bandwidth also refers the data moving from Azure data center and whatever data you download, it is chargeable for you. And we have bandwidth divided in zones: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. We come in zone 3 in Brazil South only, as a UAE region. Azure pricing calculator, a very important stuff that we will cover at the end of the session. How to do the pricing, which VM to check, which template is for which VM, we'll cover everything in detail. Total cost of ownership, there is a portal in Azure called as TCO. In TCO, you will put all the things like for example, TCO will give you a detailed report of how much customer pay on premises and how much a customer put on Azure. We will do a short demo over the TCO as well. How to minimize the cost? Uh, you do a performance analysis, you monitor your use, and then you put it in the reservation you use. Then you choose the low cost location, you keep the data up to date, and you apply tags for the cost owners. Just a simple methodology with the help of which you can save cost. Then we have Azure Cost Management. FYI, this cost management is not available for CSP customers. For CSP customer, we have something called as Cloudin as a portal where you will get cost management. But what it gives reporting, data enrichment. You can budget your next quarter, next year. You can put an alert if the usage is going high. You can put an alert. You get an email, and it will also give you a recommendation that which resource is using less, which resource is using more, and what actions need to be taken. And then we have the support option. If you're going to a CSP, you get a support at least now for free from a CSP from Redington. But if you take anything from Web Direct under Open or from Enterprise, you have basic, developer, standard, and professional direct support available. Alternative support channels, we have MSDN platform, we have Stack Overview, we have Azure general feedback, and at Azure support on Twitter, which can give you, but these are not very dependent support. They will only give you a reply as per the availability. We have a knowledge center in Azure where you can get questions to most of the generic issues that we have, and you can take a fix over it. And the SLAs. SLAs, the service level agreement, is basically a document that is available in Azure. So if you go to the next slide, like if Azure is giving 99.9% SLA, which means the downtime per month is expected to be maximum 43.2 minutes, which is less than 9 hours a year. So this is how, and if you are giving 99.99% SLA in terms of availability zone that we checked, the maximum downtime that Azure commits is less than an hour in a year. And we have something called as composite SLA. Imagine you took a web app for 99.95 SLA and then a SQL database of 99.9 in SLA. Then it will do an average out and it will give you a total SLA of 99.94%. Then we have application level SLAs, and then service life cycle and review. So whenever a product is being launched, first it comes in a private preview, and then it goes to public preview, and then it goes to general. So Microsoft offers previews available. So private preview is an Azure feature available to certain Azure customers. In private preview, not all customer can access the service. Once the private preview is approved, then it goes to public preview, where it will be available to customer, but it is only for evaluation, not for production. How to access the private preview? There is a portal. So how to see it? If you go to Azure, it will give you like this. In this example, 1.15.3 is available in preview, for example. And for private, you will see private. You have private preview offers, you want to check to it. And to access the preview portal, you need to go to preview.portal.azure.com, where you will get all the preview features that are available. So a new service, so how it works is, a new service, it activates, it resolves any issue, it closes, and then it regression, and then it moves back to a backlog. This is the general availability life cycle that is being showed around Azure. And we have monitoring features available in Azure as an Azure update to give you all the RSS feed, what is newly launched, what is announced, and what are the changes that has been done in the services. So guys, let's quickly go to the pricing calculator and the TCO, and then we will jump into any questions if you have any. So I will go to Azure pricing calculator. Once I go to the pricing calculator, even if you don't log in, it's fine. But it's good if you log in with your Outlook account or Yahoo account. It is available. Once I go that, so let's do a quick recap over it. So let's take an SMB customer who has a workload like a DC, a web service, and a DB and a backup. So what all things I need? So a DC, imagine I take a DC who is a 2-core 4 GB RAM, 2-core 8 GB RAM maybe, a web service as well 2-core 8 GB RAM, a DB 4-core 16 GB RAM, and we need a backup for all of this. So I'll go to Azure, and a customer says that I need the pricing for this. I go to Azure pricing calculator. So featured product, and I can also search from the availability on the left hand side. I go to the virtual machine, and then I will choose a region. In our case, I choose UAE North. But if you want to see which is the closest region, there is a tool called as Azure Speed Test. Once I click on Azure Speed Test, I will go to the Azure Speed Test latency. And I will choose the region, like imagine I choose UK South, North Europe, and UAE North. It will give me what is the latency. Of course, it will go down. If you see, UAE North is giving me a latency of close to 20 millisecond, and then North Europe is giving 156, 146, and UK South is giving me 137. So you need to choose which is the closest data center, and then it will ask you the OS. Is this Windows or Linux? Do you want only an OS, a BizTalk server, or a SQL server? A tier, standard, or basic or low priority, and which VM I need to choose. So this is very bit confusing part and very important as well, which VM to choose. So what I'm going to do is, there is a portal called as Azure VM series. Once I click on Azure Virtual Machine series, it will show me why A series is important and what purpose A series is being used for. What is B series? What is D series? What is DC series? What is E series? So here, if you want to provision an SAP HANA virtual machine, it's good to go for an E series. If you want a virtual machine for web servers, analytics, and gaming, F series. G series, large SQL, no SQL. H series for high performance compute. L series and M series and N series. If you want a graphic specific VM, you need an N series. So you need to choose a virtual machine which is suited for you. So in our case, for a DC, I choose a virtual machine which is maybe and the V2 V3. If you see here, you can see D2S V3, V1, V2, V3 is a version. The more the V is, the updated is the version. So I choose V3, which is 2-core 8 GB RAM. I want the storage. I said yes, I need one drive of standard HDD, which is a 500 GB, and I'm done. And then with the DC, I will click on plus, and then I will make this as my application server, 2-core 8 GB RAM, and then I'll again do a plus, and I will make this as a SQL server. I take SQL standard, and now SQL I take 4-core 16 GB RAM. I need a backup. What else I need? I need a VPN gateway to connect from on-premises to Azure. I need IP, and I need a bandwidth. That I told you, incoming is free, outgoing is chargeable. So backup, I said UAE North. I have 3 virtual machines and maybe 500 GB each. In Azure backup, the data is compressed by 30 to 40%. I took 500 any which ways. Then, and it will also ask you the retention policy. So I said 30 daily, 4 weekly, uh, and I said 1 monthly, 1 yearly. I said VPN gateway, I said UAE North. Okay, one more thing that I would need to add. You always would think that what is this VPN gateway? What is this express route? What is, so you get multiple options. You are confused at what are this. So what you need to do, at the right hand side you see 3 tabs. You just need to click on those. First tab. In the first tab, you will get the details. What is gateway 1, gateway 2, gateway 3, gateway 4, gateway 5, what are the prices and what is the difference. If you go down, you'll get all the details. And in the third tab, you will get a complete documentation at how to deploy it. So whichever service that you're using, make sure that you choose the right hand side tabs, more information to give you a detail about it. So here I took basic VPN. I said 730 hours. Like 730 hours is 24/7. It's 720. We take 730. And then bandwidth, as I told you, in UAE North, if I'm downloading 100 GB of data, the cost will be $17.20 per month for 100 GB per month. And one more thing that I missed was IP. I will take an IP. I'll give UAE North. I'll give basic ARM. So I need 3 IP for my virtual machine and 4th for the VPN gateway. I said 4 static IP. That's it, guys. So for the complete setup, the cost will be $1,213 per month. You can export it in Excel and you can share it. For sharing, it will ask me to log in. You'll get a link and you can share it to your customer. You want to make sure that you optimize the cost. In Azure, we have something called as reservations. Reservations is an area when you reserve a virtual machine, Microsoft will give you a discount based on the virtual machine. So if I reserve this virtual machine, so reservations is like a commitment that you're giving to Microsoft, just like an Etisalat. Like Etisalat will say you that if you take up a SIM card, it will be 150 dirhams a month. But if you give a commitment for 1 month, it will be like 120 dirhams or 100 dirhams a month. So if you see, if I reserve a reservation is only for compute. So if I reserve the virtual machine, my cost from $1,200 and odd dollars went to $1,000.56. So this is how you will do the pricing for your customers, and you can check it. Another tool that we spoke about is Azure TCO, total cost of ownership. In Azure TCO, okay, what I will do is I have few predefined TCO. I'll come out of incognito tab. I will just go to Azure TCO. You will need to spend some time around it. For the customers who says Azure is expensive or they actually want to know the total cost of ownership, you need to put all the details. What workload you're running? Is it a Linux machine, virtual or physical machine, Windows machine? How many VMs? In case I said I have 10 virtual machines on premises, I want to take it to Azure. How many core the virtual machine is? How many RAM the virtual machine is giving? And you need to put all the details here. Database you're using, yes, I'm using a SQL database. Database is of like 4 virtual machines I'm using as a database, which is on VMware. How much storage? I said I am using a 10 TB of capacity, and all those things. If you go to the next tool, you need to put what is electricity cost. Like in UAE, what is the cost of electricity? In UAE, what is the cost of storage? In UAE, what is the cost of IT labor? And you need to put everything in detail. You might need around 2 to 3 hours to fill this information. But once you do this, at the last tab, Microsoft will say you that over a period of 5 years, how much you will save. So this is very important for you as so even if I say this as a UAE, I can change a region. So the TCU is not available in UAE, so I'll go to the East US available itself. So it says like within a span of 5 years, you'll save $404,000. How? You go down, Microsoft will say that in compute, how much you're paying on premises, how much you'll pay in Azure, based on the pricing that you put in the previous slide. In data center, how much you pay on premises, there is no data center cost in Azure. in IT labor, in storage, in network, how much you pay on premise is how much you pay in Azure. You can download this report, you can send it to your customer, you can analyze it yourself. And this is a certified report by Nucleus Research that it gives accurate information. So these are the two tools, guys, that you can use for your Azure. So your latency test is still going on. So UE, as if I'm not wrong, UE gives around latency of 30 to 35 milliseconds, and Europe gives around 150 ms. Okay, team, I think that's it from my side. We have covered all the four modules, and I think we are good here. We have covered all the basic stuff. This is important for you to appear for your examination. How to appear for an Azure Fundamental exam? You just need to go to Azure Fundamentals exam AZ 900. Once I click on AZ 900, due to the COVID situation, the examinations are. I'm not sure if it stopped, but you just need to go to Pearson View. I'll click on Pearson View. Once I clicked on Pearson View, it will ask you to log in. I will log in with my Outlook account. Once I clicked on your Outlook account, it will take you to your profile. I will verify my profile. I will save and continue.
Shoaib, not able to see your screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I will start it again. Is it better, Junaid?
Yes.
Okay, guys. So once again, I'll go to Azure Fundamentals exam. I'll click on this link. Once I clicked on this link, it will ask you to log in with your Azure MCID. The MCID will be that if you have given any Azure exam before, you will have this MCID. So I will go to the Pearson View, and once I click on Pearson View, uh, in the next tab, it will ask me that do you want to give an exam at home or at a test center. So I'll say that for now I want to give it at home. It will ask you to do pre-check, which we can do later. If I click on next, I will agree to all the policy of this exam that needs to be given at home. And then it will ask me the language. I'll click on next, and yes, I'll click on next for the pricing page, and then I will click on the proctor type, and then it will ask me that schedule your exam. So I said 15. Which time you want an exam? I said maybe 2:15 p.m. and I'll click on next. I mean, I have already given the exam, that's why it's not allowing, but I can click on that and I will able to go ahead and schedule the examination. You'll get an email, and then this is how you will be able to give the exams. Team, thank you so much for joining. That's pretty much it. I would request that any one of you, if you have any questions, I think you can paste it in the chat window, and then I'll be more than happy to assist you.
Shoaib, are you able to see the Q&A chat box?
One second, Junaid.
Yeah.
I can see attendees. Sorry, you want to click me on polls?
No, Q&A. Okay. Great. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for attending the webinar. Thank you, Shoaib, for the presentation. Thank you all. Safe.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time, and I hope this was informative. And I wish you all the best if you're giving the examination, and we will connect again. Any which ways you have my contact details, feel free to reach out to me, and we can get it going. Thanks, guys. Bye bye. Take care. Yes, the recording will be shared. Thank you, guys.